Some more participants joining the call. On behalf of the University of California, Riverside, thank you for tuning in today for our virtual Industry Insights event focused on careers in professional sports. My name is Austin Quick, and I will be your host this evening. Typically, our Industry Insight series are in-person events that allow folks to gain a better insight into various industries from accomplished UCR alumni. This transition to online events has given us an opportunity to reimagine what alumni engagement looks like. This virtual platform is allowing us to have more meaningful conversations with larger audiences of Highlanders from all over the country. With us tonight are 7 outstanding UCR alumni panelists to share their career experiences from within the professional sports industry. I'm excited to welcome you all, alumni, students, staff, and guests of UCR, to join in on this discussion. This program is made possible by the UCR Alumni Association. If you're not currently a member of the Alumni Association, we encourage you to join and take advantage of all the opportunities that the membership has to offer. We will begin today's event with a keynote presentation and then transition into networking breakout sessions where you will have the chance to learn more about our panelists and their experiences. For your reference, we will be recording the keynote session today. All registrants will receive the recording after the event in a follow-up email, along with all of the participating panelists' LinkedIn URLs. Please know that individual breakout room sessions will not be recorded. We encourage you all to connect offline and continue the conversations and connections with our UCR alumni. I'd like to remind everyone of UCR's principles of community. UCR is committed to equitable treatment of all students, faculty, and staff. UCR's faculty, staff, and students are committed to creating an environment in which each person has the opportunity to grow and develop and is recognized for their contributions. Before we begin, I'd like to get a better sense of the virtual audience this evening. We have 4 questions we would like for everyone to answer. You can take part by visiting www.menti.com and use the code on the screen that will be shared in the chat. Once in, you'll be prompted to answer the following questions. What is your all-time favorite professional sports franchise? We're going to let some time go so people can log in. Again, you can use it from your smartphone or just open another browser, www.menti.com, and use the code on the screen. 2633746. Go ahead and answer the questions when you can. We'll start seeing your answers appear on the screen. The Lakers, Ducks, okay. Cowboys, Bulls, variety of sports, Yankees, 49ers, okay. Memphis Grizzlies, all right. I'm gonna let a little bit more time go. All right, Bill, we got a wide variety of sports here. I know you can talk to them. All right. Thank you for participating in question number 1. Question number 2, yes or no? Have you ever attended a professional sporting event? Okay. Okay. It's good to know. Good to know. Question number 3. Do you currently work in a sports-related career field? Okay. A lot of opportunity there. Okay. Question number 4. Are you interested in a sports-related career field? All right, there we go. We have their attention. Wow, staggering. Thank you to everyone who participated in those questions. It is now my honor to introduce our keynote speaker this evening, Bill Chapin. Bill Chapin is a Senior Vice President for the new Seattle Kraken NHL franchise. He's a seasoned sports executive specializing in leading professional sports teams. Bill, thank you for being with us tonight. Would everyone please mute their mics? The floor is yours.
It's a pleasure to see everyone. I wish we could do this in person. I'm actually at our Seattle Kraken Climate Pledge Arena Preview Center, where we bring, if not thousands of people pre-COVID, to experience the incredible transformational arena project that we're building here right in the heart of Seattle Center in the 74-acre campus. Just a privilege to see you all, a privilege to talk on behalf of or with UCR students and with alumni, and happy to do this. I caveat all this whole thing is I suck at Zoom, so I'm gonna do my best to start a video here. I'll probably screw it up, but I wanna walk you through a little bit about what we're doing here with the Seattle Kraken and Climate Pledge Arena. Just a little background, I've had the privilege of working for 7 professional sports teams in all 5 different sports leagues, including NBA, MLB, NHL, obviously, NFL, and Major League Soccer. This is my 2nd startup franchise. I was able to start the MLS Seattle Sounders FC at the CenturyLink Field, and this is my 2nd new arena project. 20 years ago, Rick Seeley will remember, who is an alumni on the call, Staples Center, which is just celebrated its 20th anniversary in downtown Los Angeles. Andrew is calling out right there, big Laker fan, I can tell right there. So it's great to be able to be a part of something bigger than yourself. And obviously this project here in Seattle is a really incredible part of what's happening in this marketplace. So I'm gonna share this screen here and see if I can call up what we've been doing here in Seattle. So is everybody able to see that? I hope so. And this was the launch video that maybe some of you saw in on how we launched the Seattle Kraken. And I'll let you see this. So what I'm going to read a little bit is the background brand, if you will, what we call our brand mantra or brand history. Every new brand has to start with a story. And I want to read it to you, not because you can't read, but because I want you to hear the emphasis of why we wrote what we wrote. Some say we know more about the cosmos than we do our own waters. Maybe that's what draws us to the sea, the vast expanse. The impermeable deep, the uncharted, has long inspired generations of folklore. In Seattle, we welcome voyagers. Our port city brings legends from all over the world. We cross boundless oceans and dense wilderness, finding our beasts along the way. These legends are home to this rugged coastal wonderland with a name etched on Lord Stanley. Now we breathe new life into a legend. An ancient and powerful force reawakens in the heart of the great Pacific Northwest. We will wear the S in honor of our champion predecessors, and we will have a name that incarnates the might of the sea. The NHL's 32nd club, given life by 32,000 fans, the Seattle Kraken. So that's important to understand that, because all brands start with, as I said, a story, and they have to resonate authentically. And when you get a chance to launch a brand, you have to launch it in a way that resembles what the city means or is identified with in its history, and what it means as a foreshadowing metaphor of what's to come. So I'll continue with our city. Our maritime city with a proud history of adventure is deserving of a hockey club as untamed as the sea herself. The Kraken represents the fiercest beast in all the world, too large and indomitable to be contained by man or finned mammal. That's a reference to our great brethren up to the north of the Vancouver Canucks. It instills one message in all opponents, whether our waters or in our waters or theirs, that you need to abandon all hope. The Sound is the waterway that connects us to the Pacific Ocean, so that the largest octopus on the planet Earth lives right here in Puget Sound. The giant Pacific octopus lurks in the deep around Seattle. According to Tacoma legend, they inhabit the ruins of a collapsed bridge, Galloping Gertie, with the infamous king octopus. National Geographic notes the biggest on record at 30 feet wide and over 600 pounds. If you encountered that in the depths of our Sound, you tell tales of one thing, that you just saw the Kraken. Again, this is now speaking to our body of water that sits on the edge of Seattle. It's directly connected to the Pacific Ocean through waterways, but it's the Sound. And so it's part of the ethos of Seattle, the maritime culture of this region, and resounds completely with the residents here, because they can fish, they can cross it with a ferry. People live on the other side of the Sound in other parts of Washington State. So it's really part of the topographical nature of where we live. And then a little bit about our fans. We met deposit day with 32,000 passionate fans. Just to give you a sense, it was 32,000 deposits in 24 hours, 10,000 deposits in 12 minutes. As of today, September 22nd, we're in the process of securing all 32,000 deposit holders and transitioning them actually into seats. And we now have 60,000 on the waiting list. One in particular emerged quickly as the front runner 2 years later, and the same name still carries the conversation. We had 215,000 fan votes, 50 plus fan forums and speaking engagements, and over 12 months of social media listening have supported this phenomenon called Seattle's the Kraken on the respective team names. A ton of time. So what I've just shown you in the last 5.5 minutes is basically years of work of the logo anatomy, and really, really bright people from Adidas worked on the shape of our history. So our history, as the great ice game goes, is as deep as the Puget Sound. The Seattle Metropolitans were the first American club to hoist the Stanley Cup. That was in 1917. They played at a ice hockey arena between 4th and 5th and University right here in downtown Seattle. They actually played the 1917 game and won. They returned in 1919 to play the Montreal Canadiens. It's only one of 4 Stanley Cup finals that were postponed indefinitely, because ironically enough, there was an outbreak of the Spanish influenza, and 2 Montreal Canadian players actually died and passed away. They are an eternal part of this city's history, and we pay tribute to them by wearing the S. We will aspire to bring the cup back to Seattle in their honor. We also acknowledge the Sound here, with hidden in the shadows, a single tentacle stealthily rises from below, symbolizing the deep, dark waters of Puget Sound. How many are there? How deep do they go? The real peril lies in what you don't see. What's brilliant, I think, about this logo and this outline is that this is not a octopus squid outline. This is the outstanding terror of what lies beneath. And you can see the tentacle as part of it, but you never see the entire Kraken, because that's part of the fear of the unknown, which we love. And then there's the eye of the beast. If you've seen it, it's already too late. The eye of the Kraken has been affixed on its prey for some time. Its strike will be swift and devastating. Its opposition overwhelmed and unwary. It'll all be over soon, which is the dread that we want our opponents to feel when they take the ice here at Climate Pledge Arena, that impending doom is basically categorized on them as they take the ice here. So home ice advantage here, I think, will be the best in the National Hockey League. We're building Climate Pledge Arena for the fan in mind, but we're also building it for sound and noise. Obviously, Seattle's famous for the noise that it creates. I happen to be a part of the 12th man with the Seattle Seahawks for 7 years and have firsthand heard the deafening noise of Seattleites as they create a home field advantage for the Seahawks. And I have no doubt that they'll create a home ice advantage for the Seattle Kraken. Carved from the sea, Seattle is a city built by the sea. Our forebears' hands cracked in the cold, salty air as they reeled in their lines and wrought their ships. The clean bevel of a freshly carved vessel is a reminder of where we come from. So this is a nod to the history of the city and the forefathers that came before. You can see in every different area of the design motif intentionality of a story that either embraces the future or talks and gives a nod to the past. A noble city built on the water by bold and hardened adventurers. So then we've also done the primary and secondary. And Wordmark, we were talking before the call about our retail merchandise sales. What we have found is that secondary mark, if you're not familiar with Seattle, that's obviously the Space Needle. That's emblematic from the top or the apex of that secondary mark to the obviously anchor in the maritime community that we have here. That's actually the leading seller in our merchandise right now. I think we're the first team to have a secondary logo outpace the primary logo in its sales in the first year, about a couple months. And then this will be the future sweater. We're working with Adidas right now. If you can imagine, sweaters take about a year. So we needed to launch when we launched because we needed to thread the needle during this challenging time to provide inspiration and hope for those here in the Pacific Northwest and around the world about what we're doing for the 21-22 season. And then we built basically a whole media campaign around this. This was not just a video. There are 5 hours worth of content that we produced right out of this preview center that I'm speaking from here with our host. We talked to representatives from Adidas. We talked to ownership, Jerry Bruckheimer, who I think you all know is of Top Gun 1 and 2 fame, who's part of our ownership group. We talked to stakeholders from the National Hockey League. We talked to fans. We talked to a host of businesses in the community that are going to be supporting the Kraken. And we're really excited about the launch, even during a challenging time. The colors, we have obviously the deep blue sea and the ice blue, the boundless blue and the shadow blue, but departure from other Seattle teams is the red alert. The red is not typically used in the motifs here, as you all probably know, with the Mariners and the Seahawks and the Sounders and the Storm. It's primarily greens and blues, but we felt like this opportunity to call out the red alert, especially in the eye, gave that impending sense of, if you will, treachery for the opponents as they take the ice against us. And then on game day at Climate Pledge Arena, and this is one of our renderings that we have now, is our arena will be feared, an iconic roof standing nobly against the Olympic mountains, yet beneath awaits danger, the subterranean layer of the Seattle Kraken. And I'll speak about the subterranean nature of our building in a minute. Our lair will be a hostile venue for opposing teams and will deliver the best home ice advantage in the league. Our city will show up strong and release their inner beast for every game with dynamic sightlines and a steep bowl. Our fans will be on top of the ice. Unique game presentation will dimension the Kraken brand from dueling scoreboards to a distinctive live organ, and on-ice imaging will transition elegance to mayhem. Welcome home, Seattle hockey fans. It is with pride that we will wear the S inside of this building from opening day to the end of time. I read that to you because I wanted you to get a sense of what the type of story you have to create as a brand launches, to immerse the audience, to immerse the fan, to be a part of something bigger than yourselves. And that's what this whole concept is about, is immersing and making sure that they know they're a part of something bigger than themselves. And that drives inspiration. That drives opportunity as well, but it drives inspiration. I was speaking a little bit earlier to everybody, what makes sports and live entertainment so great is that we get to be for 3 to 4 hours part of something bigger than ourselves, high five the person to your left, high five the person to your right, and be part of something that gets to celebrate life. And with, unfortunately, the division that we're all experiencing in many different aspects, sports and entertainment in the future will bring everybody back together and celebrate what it is to be alive. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen there and go into one other presentation I'd like to make on our arena. And I want to make sure I'm doing that correctly. So let me share my screen here to here. Can everybody, I can't see everybody here. Can everybody see that? Just give me a head nod. Great, thank you. So this is Climate Pledge Arena. And for those of you that don't know, oh, Todd's writing me. Hello, Todd. Climate Pledge Arena is a mission that Amazon has elected to use their platform to talk about the Climate Pledge, which is the Paris Accord by 2040 to bring emissions down to a Paris Accord. But we're going to do it sooner, and Climate Pledge Arena will be the first net zero carbon neutral building ever produced. It's absolutely stunning. And what's stunning about it is that it sits on the 72-acre campus here at the Seattle Center, and it is home to the former Seattle Coliseum and former Key Arena, home of the former Seattle Supersonics. So what's amazing about the arena, if you can see this picture here, is that is the original 400 million pound roof that was built for the 1962 World's Fair. The Space Needle also was built in 1962. Back in those days, I know none of you were born, and neither was I, for the record, was that at that time they had World's Fairs and they brought people together, and innovation and science and technology was at the forefront of the 1962 World's Fair. Little did you guys all know, but a guy named Gates and a guy named Ballmer and a guy named Bezos were all around this kind of time period investigating what it was like to have these innovations. Remember, we were going to the moon. Remember, we were doing all these things. There were spacecraft going up into the sky, and they were building a Space Needle that would touch the sky as well. And that Space Needle has stayed and had become an iconic part of the Seattle skyline, but so did this arena. And this arena was home to ice hockey teams. It was home to NBA basketball. It's been home for the WNBA, three-time WNBA champion Seattle Storm. And now it's home to the absolutely most beautiful new arena. So it's a brand new arena. Let me be very clear, a brand new arena under a historic roof. So we've dug down, and I have a very simplified video to show you the exact kind of process that occurred here. So let me get that video here. It's called The Dig, and hopefully you can see this. So this is the former Key Arena roof and the structure, and this is a kind of a cross-sectional that shows what's happened. And basically you dig down, you support the beams that were there with support beams, you dig away and cut away at everything, you support everything on the inside and the outside, you take all the dig and the dirt out, you hold it and suspend it, and then you reattach it. This was done by 6 different engineering firms. I made something that took almost a year to figure out, and I showed it to you in 30 seconds. It's as technical as any stadium build has ever been done. We make it sound like it's no big deal, but it's a huge deal. We're going to be on Engineering Marvels. It's going to go in one of those shows like, how did they do that? What were they thinking? What if there was an earthquake? Could something have fallen? And all of those things were taken. We have monitors outside our office that measure any movement whatsoever, and then an alarm goes off. I'm not joking. An alarm goes off, and everybody kind of panics for a second, then says, oh, it's okay. It was this. So thankfully, everything's been reattached. We've dug 70 feet below, and this is actually almost a fully subterranean building. When you enter the building now, you'll enter in at the upper concourse, and every seat below you'll walk down to. And again, it's a brand new arena under a historic roof. So I want to show you a little bit on the outside. Again, this is looking south This is the Pacific Science Center here. The needle is here. Let me move my cursor here so I can show you. You can see the outstretch of CenturyLink down here, and T-Mobile, the home of the Mariners, is over here. This is the kind of the Seattle Center campus right here. Here's an entry shot leading in to Climate Pledge Arena. Again, we're going to collect rainwater that will be the actual ice that we'll make up. Everything will be run on batteries or on solar to power the entire building. There will be no petroleum or gasoline or oil used for the powering of this building. We're working closely with Amazon and all types of structural and interior engineers to power this building so that it's net neutral. If any of you have any detailed questions on that, I can give you a whole PowerPoint that we can talk about that offline. I don't know every answer of every question on that, but I know what we are planning to do is make sure that we have a forum every year where we answer all those questions, and we'll be fully transparent about all of our climate pledge initiatives and sustainability, which is amazing. The other part is we're the only arena on a 72-acre park, and so surrounding the whole area will be wildlife areas and green spaces and all kinds of other things that make it really accessible for people to be a part of it. And then I want to show you some of the interior shots, and then I think I'm getting close to time here. But this is going to be, this is a bisectional of the building here. This is the historic roof, and this is the brand new arena. These are some of the Tunnel Club suites that we're building that we copied from Madison Square Garden. They have the best of both worlds. They have an actual suite lounge underneath, and then they have corresponding seats that are right 3 to 6 rows off the playing surface or the ice surface. So they're phenomenal locations and phenomenal sight lines. Here's another cross-sectional. It shows all the different levels that we're building. And as you can see, if they're coming in on the upper concourse, this is all underground under here. 70 feet, 500 million tons of rock and soil was removed. Not to spare any expense, we've hired the greatest Rockwell interior design firm that has done Miami's Hard Rock Stadium to do the interiors. And as you can see, this is the Metropolitan Club restaurant, one of our only restaurants in the building, and it's spectacular in there. And as well, you saw this shot before. The dual scoreboard is probably the most unique. It's 3-sided. It's on both sides. And the intentionality with that is to make sure that we don't separate the crowd with the giant. This is not a knock on Dallas, but with the giant screen that Cowboy Stadium has, it separates 2 halves of the stadium. I've been there when I was hosting clients for the Seahawks, and it does separate the stadium, and it's so overwhelming that you actually kind of sit back in your chair and you watch the game instead of, you know, vociferously rooting for the home team. This allows the fans to be able to see across, if you will, the ice. It'll be able to provide new vantage points for 3-dimensional sides, and it also will connect the building because it's super intimate. It's 17,100 for hockey. It's 18,500 for basketball, and it's anywhere between 15,500 and 17,500 for music. And I'll transition to basketball for a second, then I'll finish on music. This is what it's going to look like for a WNBA Storm game. We can't wait to host the Storm games as well. And then music is actually, hockey's dominated and the WNBA is dominated, but music's going to set the stage. Live Nation's an equity partner in this building, and we'll have between 50 and 70 shows a year. And I will tell you, as a byproduct of the pandemic, those shows have not been obviously been able to perform. So as we open in the 21-22 season, whenever that happens to be, we'll be able to host all these live events that haven't had a place to play for almost a year and a half. So we're really looking forward to that. And obviously the carbon zero neutrality is a really important part of the message. It's great to have a building that's not named necessarily after an arena or a company name, but after a mission and a vision. And obviously here in the Pacific Northwest, the environment has always been an incredible part of our ethos and our social fabric. And so that's resonated with everybody here. And I think I mentioned it, but last but not least, we'll be using a cistern to collect all the natural rain that we get here in the Pacific Northwest to make the freshest and the greenest ice in the National Hockey League. So there's a lot more to share. I'd rather spend time answering questions, Thrilled to be a part of a transformational arena here. This is phase one of a multi-phase. I'll give you 3 dates that really are the keystones of this franchise. March 1st, 2018, 32,000 depositors put the wind in the sail of this franchise. December 4th, 2018, we were awarded the 32nd franchise in the National Hockey League. And July 14th, we launched just a few weeks before we launched Climate Pledge Arena. And then July 14th, we launched the Seattle Kraken. And it's going to be an incredible opportunity, incredible ride for our fans and for our community, and just thrilled to be a part of it. So I'll stop there. I think that's 30 minutes on the dot.
Bill, thank you so much for that presentation and just welcoming everyone into Climate Pledge Arena. It looks so exciting to be a part of right now. In terms of the programming, we're going to shift this conversation to address some of the audience's most pressing questions. For the sake of time, we can get to a couple, but just to let the audience know, Bill will be sticking around during the breakout session to answer these questions. And again, it will be recorded and sent out to everyone. So for the sake of time, Bill, what has inspired your passion for this industry?
So I promised I'd tell one UCR story, and there might be a gentleman on the call that helped inspire me. His name is Neil Okazaki. There's another gentleman named Mark Herbers on the call. And so I had 3 passions at UCR. You all equate with this. I was a poli-sci major, so I thought it would be politics. As we all know, in college, we like eating a lot of ice cream. So it was ice cream and it was sports. And I tried to do the politics thing, and I just didn't fall in love with it. I tried to do the ice cream thing that I really wanted to do, but I wasn't a good chemist, not really smart that way. And so sports was something that was always a part of me. And if I couldn't compete, which I couldn't walk on to the UCR baseball team. I thought I could do it in a different way. And somebody encouraged me, Neil encouraged me to challenge him on a bet. And I started with the Clippers, and that's my start into sports. And I've never looked back. It's the greatest industry. I'm passionate. I get up every day and I can't wait to get to work. Some people question why you can't stop working, and it's such a great industry. I've met the most incredible people. Tim and Todd Lewicki, I've worked for them both twice now, and they're the best sports executives in the world. And I get to work with dynamic men like that, and I get to work with an incredible staff, men and women who are committed to this passion industry. And I think it all stems back to you get to inspire people, and you get to be a part of something where people are united. They can banter, but at the end of the day, it's fun, and it brings people together. And there's nothing more needed during this time is to bring people together. And that's why I love what we do.
Hear, hear. Thank you, Bill. For the sake of time, we will be staying in this main room and asking Bill a few more questions that will be recorded. At this point, we're now going to transition into the networking breakout portion of the event. Event attendees will soon be randomly placed into a breakout room where you will stay for all 3 sessions. Our alumni panelists will spend 10 minutes in each room sharing their career experiences, answering questions, and offering career insights. The breakout rooms will receive a 1-minute warning prior to the start of the next breakout session. After the 3 breakout sessions, we will all reconvene in this main room for closing remarks. It is with great pleasure that I introduce you to our 6 panelists this evening. Group 1, Niles Owens, Content Coordinator, Fox Sports, and Brianna Vasquez, Content Associate, Graphics Producer, ESPN. Group 2, Patrick Barkley, Manager, Partner Activation, Los Angeles Lakers, and Jonathan Jensen, Director of Stadium Operations, Las Vegas Ballpark. And Group 3, Austin Claiborne, Program Coordinator, Warriors Community Foundation, and Layla Subtani, Founder and owner of Legacy Philanthropy. Can you please start the presentation to the breakout rooms, please? That participant number going down. Breakout rooms have been assigned. Terrific. Bill, that was awesome.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
That worked out okay. Did I go over? I can't tell. Did I go over or was that fine?
It was
No, I
perfect.
think you're right on the dot there, Bill.
Perfect
Right.
timing. And it really showed the diversity that professional sports can provide in industry, from engineering to marketing, media, business. I mean, you did a great job touching on all those.
Good. Good.
We'll proceed with the questions if you don't mind.
Sure, go.
All right. So what is your hope for future generations of UCR students who are looking to follow in your footsteps in the professional industry?
I don't know about my footsteps, but more of just the opportunities. There's never been more outside the pandemic. There's never been better time to be in professional sports or minor league sports or properties or sports properties, because people want to, be inspired. At the same time, there's never been more demand, with all these different avenues to do it and people to do it. So tenacity wins the day. And my good friend Mark Herbers is here, right here. He knows that. He's been tenacious all his life in finding all the different opportunities that he's done in his career. And you just have to be tenacious. And I think that's part of the UCR kind of attitude anyway, we're a little bit of the kind of chip on your shoulder type university where we go get things done and maybe don't get the notoriety of the other UC schools. But I think we're getting there, and there's been great work done there, and that's exciting and inspiring. But you got to be a bulldog, man. You got to go in there and not be afraid of rejection. And if you get rejected, you go again and you go again. And a little bit of a glutton for punishment in that way. But when you're passionate about something, you go and you do it, and you're relentless about it. And I was just relentless with this, and have been relentless with it for a long time. So it's no different than fulfilling your dream, whether it's a Hollywood dream or whether it's a dream to be an astronaut or a dream to be your own entrepreneur and be on YouTube and make millions of dollars. You're not going to make millions of dollars in sports. That's in the profession of the business side. That's what the players do. But you certainly love what you do every day. And I can tell you with unabashed passion that I love what I do every day.
Yeah. How long has it been since you've been back to UCR? Because you really highlighted the essence of what the students stand for and embody, man. You touched it right on the head.
Yeah, I got to go back. It's been a long time. Herbers and Neil and I got to go back and have a little mini reunion. So I don't know. It's been probably a good 15 years.
Wow.
Yeah, far too long, Austin. Hey, I just want to say Bill has more energy than anybody that I've ever met. Period. And anybody who wants to get into this industry, Bill is the perfect example. He has never had anyone say no to him. He will not stop. And it doesn't matter which franchise he's with, whether it's a small team, minor leagues, big leagues, it just simply doesn't matter. He's had the same level of energy he has today than he did when he started with the Clippers. It doesn't matter. And he has that same, and it doesn't matter the team, it's just where he's at. And I'm sure the energy is different at each of these different franchises, but I think a lot of it is just energy you bring to a job that you want to do. And, Bill found his niche, and I think anybody who wants to get into sports, this is a perfect example.
Thank you for sharing, Mark. I just met Bill not too long ago, but I would love to learn a little bit more about his time at UCR and his experiences. I mean, that energy, is that something that has shaped you into who you are today, your time at Riverside?
Riverside, I mean, I will tell you, I'm not just telling you because they're on the call, but Neil and Mark were huge parts of my UCR experience. And I think we meet all these people, and I was coming from Northern California. Mark's coming from Torrance. Neil was coming from Seal Beach. And we got a chance to, connect. And these friendships have lasted for a long time, but they drive each other. Neil took me to my first Kings game. Mark and I went, and Neil went to DC with Loveridge. Mark, this is going to sound totally inappropriate. Mark shared a bed with a Pulitzer Prize winner. We had to share rooms and share beds. But it's a true story. So no, actually Neil did. That was not Neil. Mark and I had to bunk up. So, you have these indelible moments where you're able to grow together as, students. And what UCR provided, and I think still provides, different from the other UC experiences, is that small campus. I know it's growing, but that smaller campus feel where you're able to do things and touch things and be a part of things that you can't get at other, colleges and in universities. And that allowed us to experience, that allowed us to experiment, that allowed us to do things at the proximity of Los Angeles, to be able to see professional sports games and minor league games. And those times really set the course. Neil put me on the track and Mark put me on the track for hockey. And this is my third hockey team. I worked for the Kings, I worked for the Ducks, and now I work for the Kraken. And guaranteed, if I don't work for the two other hockey teams, I don't get the job here at the Kraken. Now, there's obviously relationships as part of that, and me working for Tim and me working for Todd certainly played a role in that, and relationships are everything. But you have to have the experience in the background too, and UCR set me up for that.
Of course. You're going to have to recap with Neil because he just joined the call right now.
I know. What's up, buddy?
He's late.
He is late. All right. He probably he was deposing someone. He probably had them all just wrapped up, deposed.
I'm waiting for all the wisdom here.
Awesome. Well, in regards to some of those comments you made previously, what would be the first step for an individual that they should take if they want a career within professional sports, whether it's an incoming student or someone who is looking to change career fields? What would be your advice there?
Yeah, I think the most important thing is it's the hardest thing that you do in the university, right? Is figure out what you want to do and figure out what you're passionate about. And there's all these different opportunities in sports. The number one thing I get hit up on is I want to be somebody says to me is I want to work in professional sports because I want to be a general manager. Well, what it takes to be a general manager in hockey, football, or basketball is starting to do all the dirty work and picking up players from the airport and driving cars and doing statistics and working late night, running all kinds of statistical models because you have to get it ready for the coaches the next day and getting a break to be able to do that. And nobody really wants to do that. They just want the glamour of the GM job. Like, you've got to sell and do different things. And I worked for the Clippers at the time when the Clippers were the Clippers. So, that was a challenging job. And you have to put in the work. It's no different than anywhere else. You got to put in the work. You got to put in the passion, and you have to move. Like, I've moved now ridiculous amounts of times because I was at UCR, and then I went to, work for the Clippers, and then I worked for the Kings, then I worked for the Padres, then I worked, and then the Ducks, and then I moved to Seattle, and then I moved to Kansas City, and then I moved back to Seattle. So you've just got all these places. You can't be restricted by geographic location. If there's a job opportunity that you want to do and it's in Savannah, Georgia, you're going to Savannah, Georgia, and you're going to learn something from it. May not be great, it may be awesome. You don't know, but the journey is part of the process, and you cannot be restricted by geography, nor do you have to be restricted by the team. I could have worked on the property side, could have worked on the television side, I could have worked on all of those. It just happened to be that the team made the most sense because I liked being a part of teams where we're all working together toward a common causality, which is inspiring people and hopefully winning a couple games.
Right. Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. Is there something that you would change or redo at all during your career? Is there one mistake or challenge that sticks out to you that you can share with? If you're comfortable sharing, please do.
Yeah, my timing has been a little off. I left the Seahawks, and 2 years later they won the Super Bowl. I left the Chiefs, and 2 years later they won the Super Bowl. And I left the Ducks, and 2 years later they won the Stanley Cup. So my timing's been off a little bit, but no, I wouldn't change any of it. It's all been an incredible learning experience. It was really good to move away. The time in Kansas City was challenging. I will share with you, when the first year I moved there, I went from a Seahawks team that was really always in the postseason, and had had all kinds of both business success and football success to a challenging time in Kansas City where the team went 2-14 and there was a murder-suicide by a player. Wow. And that's challenging, rough. But it's all been part of that journey, right? Where you just kind of learn all these different lessons and learn to work with different people along the way. And, I'm so pleased to be here back in Seattle now with this incredible transformational arena and the Seattle Kraken, and working for Tim and Todd Leiweke, that, if you change any of those things, you change where you're at currently. And I wouldn't change a thing.
Awesome. Next question is, in terms of putting yourself in a position of a current School of Business student or a graduate student in a master's program, what would be some applied skills that you deal with on the day-to-day, or something that a business education could really leverage in terms of the professional sports?
Yeah, and I tell this to everybody, and I know this is being recorded, so I hope this is UCR appropriate. There's a lot of masters in sports administration programs out there, and there's nothing wrong with it. But I got an MBA, and the MBA has been far more applicable because it deals with businesses. I do a lot of I work with a lot of business analysts. I work with really, really smart people. Quite frankly, probably a hell of a lot smarter than me with a much better SAT score. But I need to understand what they're saying to me, and I've been able to use the different quantitative skills that I've amassed, not because I'm an expert at them, by far I'm not, but I understand how to analyze it and what it means to a current sports environment. So currently I lead all revenue for the team as it relates to hospitality and tickets. And if I don't know my numbers, then I'm not in a really good position to report it, even if I can sell really well, which I can. So I lead a group of people who sell all the tickets, but I need to know I have to have the financial acumen to understand what it means when I say COI and somebody goes COI and you're like contractually obligated income, because that's based on a model that a bank uses to be able to provide some type of loans to do the construction loan. So it's all interrelated, right? And if I don't know that the COI is important for Tim Leiweke, then that construction loan may not have the best points associated with it, and those points add up to real dollars. So all that business acumen from a business standpoint from UCR, which I had an undergraduate in poli-sci and a minor in history, probably would have done a business administration degree if I had done it one more time over, but then I wouldn't have met these two guys, and I love these guys. So, again, you try to ratchet it up in such a way that it makes sense. And I've grown in areas in the business that if I didn't have the education background from UCR, it wouldn't have been as good.
Wow. Hear, hear. Cheers to that. Stanley, do you have any other additional questions that you would like to add? I know there were some that came through the chat. I've only got a couple more, and then maybe we can give Bill and Mark and Neil some time to catch up here on this chat. But other than that, Bill, the last thing I have is more of an open-ended question in terms of your opinion with establishing team, community, fan engagement, culture, ticket sales, revenue. Is there one that leads to the other, or is it all encompassing at the same time?
No, there's one that stands apart. You have to have the right culture. Everything comes from culture. And Tim and Todd Leiweke are the best at it in the world from a professional sports standpoint. You have to have the right culture, a culture of inclusivity, and culture of diversity, a culture of openness, a culture of trust. If it doesn't come from Tim and Todd, the trust, you don't have that. I've worked for teams where you don't have trust, and I've worked for teams that have trust. Totally different. And the culture drives it. Yeah, Peter Drucker's famous for saying culture eats strategy for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Totally true. And it will always be true. The culture of a company empowers people, inspires people, gets people to do more than they would ever do with a paycheck. And when you've got that type of culture, then everything else follows. So, revenue is important. I lead the revenue initiative. I know how important the revenue is. The revenue is number 1A or 1B, but culture's got to drive that. And if we don't make or have the community department feel like they're a part of it, and it's just about revenue and communities down at the bottom, then that's imbalanced. And that's not what we are. We bring people together, right? Communities at the forefront of what we do. Now we've got to pay for a 100% privately financed building. So obviously revenue is important for a $1 billion building that we're producing. But the culture drives that, and everybody understands it. So community understands that revenue is important. Revenue understands that community is important. And we both lift each other up. So culture is the king.
Yeah, it's the power of a good team. Everyone on the same page, moving to the same direction and goals. I just got the note that everyone will be transitioning breakout sessions here soon. I have no other questions that we received from the chat. Mark, Neil, is there anything that you want to add in terms of Bill, your time at UCR?
No, they don't want anything. They're done.
There's not enough time on this particular chat. We could tell you stories about Bill, but no, you knew from the first time I met Bill, he was going places, and there's no, it's not a surprise in the slightest that he's at exactly where he's at and where he'll end up. You know, you just have to have that inner fire, you know, to keep chasing your dream. And Bill has never let that get extinguished ever. And that makes him a wonderful person. It sucks when he moves away, though.
Does. I agree. It does suck.
I think everybody is very honored to be able to hear about Bill's professional achievements and share his insight with all of you. What you don't really get a sense of in this short period of time is just the great person that Bill is. And you really can't get to see enough about just how kind and generous he is with his time and his concern, and his relationships that he has with people is largely responsible for his professional success. He can teach everybody about what skills you need to be successful in his professional field, but much of that is also inherent in just the kind of person that he is. I know it for many years now. Very honored to be his friend. I'm very honored to just to hear him even give me a shout out kind of blows me away a little bit here today. So he can teach you a lot about how to be a professional. But he could do a whole lecture on just how to be a good person, and something we could all learn, and no matter what field you want to go into, but not just one of the great sports professionals, but one of the great people that ever came from UCR.
Agreed. Riverside was a great foundation, and I think it allowed all of us to succeed in each of our different, you know, paths. You know, but I think Riverside, especially back in the late 80s, early 90s, you know, it had a certain home feeling. I'm certain it exists there, just on a larger scale.
Yep.
You know, where you actually got to talk to your professors and things like that, and they helped you. You know, we all went down different paths, but, you know, I thought politics might be one, or law enforcement. I got my internship with Riverside Police Department thanks to Mayor Loveridge, but, you know, that wasn't for me. That's not something I wanted to do. But, you know, having that exposure helped me further in life. That's for sure.
And then you got Neil, who sits right there. I'm not sure if you're in your office or at the Riverside office, Neil, but you know, he's now helping the city of Riverside protect the interest of Riverside, its citizens, its police force, and it's awesome that he's serving. I've always been so admired by both Mark and Neil, but Neil gets to serve the city that supports the university, right? So that's a really cool give back moment that Neil's had the opportunity to do, and Mark has done that as well in his career. So Riverside is a special place, and I do look forward to getting back there at some point in the near future.
Those are all great words to hear. Neil, thank you for what you do. It's a pleasure to meet you, and Mark for sharing all those great words on Bill's behalf. I know I speak on behalf of Standing and myself. We look forward to getting to know Bill a lot more. But you guys touched on something that's really critical right now in UCR's tenure. We're growing, right? 110 living alumni, really blooming at the time. But just how important is that Highlander network to continue to cultivate and keep strong, not only for everyone's individual benefit, for the benefit of the university as a whole and its impact on the community, the world, the greater region. You guys touched on that. And is there anything else that you guys would like to add?
No, I just want to say that it's great that the Alumni Network is working well to try and put people in touch with people in our community that have something to share. And you know, I used to look forward every year to the Alumni Association's Del Mar race trip, and I know that may take a hold with COVID and other reasons, but it was just nice to see some familiar faces every year, and you know, still being in Riverside, still working. I know that there's a whole network of people that are important to sort of see the changes in the university move forward and help try and save the athletic department or whatever the latest goals are. But being in touch and seeing people like Bill that are really doing great things with their life is hopefully inspire students and more recent graduates to see what they can make of their degree. So thank you for putting this on. I think it's really exciting.
Of course. Thank you. Bill, take me back to that time we got an email from Standing. What was your first thought when you saw UCR in the inbox?
I just wanted to know how much money he was going to ask me for.
Ouch.
That's a conversation we could have later.
Oh, I know it's coming. No, I always want to serve UCR as best I can. And, I think sports is a great way to do that. Right. And so I'm happy to contribute because UCR has contributed to all of us in some way, shape, or form. And I'm thankful to do it and honored to do it at the same time. So I'd always want to help when I can. And so when Stanion reached out, it was easy, and I appreciated that he took the proactivity to do that. So that's good on Stanion for doing that. So good on you, man.
Yeah, Stanion, thank you for really making this happen as well. Collective team effort on our front. Alumni and staff and guests and panelists, just want to say thank you. And welcome everyone back from the breakout sessions. I hope those were insightful and a great opportunity for everyone to connect and benefit from that. Before we end this session today, I'd like to ask Bill and the rest of the alumni panelists to leave us with a few final words of wisdom. Panelists, what's the final thing that you'd like to leave our audience with today? We can start with you, Bill.
I just say if you have an interest in professional sports or any of the sports properties or anything related to the world of sports, don't give up in your dream. Just go after it with full-on reckless abandon. You're going to get a lot of no's, but I'll tell you, and it's not just an old sales thing. It's the perseverance will win the day. And Niles knows it, and all these other Patrick knows it. Jonathan knows it. They all have stories of how many times they got no's before they got a yes. And if you're really passionate about it, go after it. And if you're not passionate about it, go after what you're passionate about. That's what you should enjoy what you do. Austin gets to do what he gets to do every day in the Bay Area and work at the newest arena that's been built and worked for a basketball team that's puts outrageous points on the board. I mean, and they're great guys who care about their community, right? So just go find what you're passionate about and go do it, whether that's sports or something else. We spend far too much time not happy in our jobs, and we need to be happy in our jobs. And that's what I would say.
Thanks, Bill. Patrick, you want to add?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. And thanks for having me tonight. Bill, great job. Enjoyed your 30-minute spiel to start and kick things off. The last thing I'll leave you guys with is, in addition to following what you're passionate about, is be memorable. I mean, whether you're building up your network, you're looking to change jobs or move up within your current industry, continue to find ways to stand out and be memorable. I mean, the sports industry as a whole is super competitive. It's a huge industry, but if you're able to do those extra things, put the extra time in, step back and kind of think a little bit and find unique ways to stand out, it's going to benefit you long term.
You're here. Brianna, would you like to add?
Yeah, my one thing would be to never burn any bridges. Always be positive in the field because you never know who's listening. And one day you might get an interview and they might say, hey, I remember you were talking bad at that Laker game in the booth. And you're like, oh my God, they heard me. So never burn any bridges and always be very, very professional in the setting and workplace at all times, because you might not think that they're listening or that somebody's watching, but they're always watching. And it's what are the 6 degrees of separation? Everybody knows somebody. So always be kind and be professional.
Thank you, Bree. Austin?
Yeah, of course. I would leave everyone with just stay on your own path. Don't get caught up in looking at what other people are doing. I think in sports, a lot of times you'll see people that may be the same year as you, maybe the same industry, and they're moving up, and maybe that's their path. But don't let it allow you to deter you away from what your goal is. So if you want to work in something, make sure that it's on your pace and on your time, and you'll eventually get it.
Thank you, Austin. Layla?
I would say, to Bree's point, always be kind to people, always find ways in which you can add value. And my quote that I live by is be relentless in your pursuit. So if it's something you want, get after it.
Thank you, Layla. Niles?
Yeah, the pursuit of a career in sports is a marathon and not a sprint. And when you finally do make it, that's where the real work begins. And some days are better than others. There's days where I can't wait to get to the office. There's days where I can't wait to get out the office. But at the end of the day, just remember why you're there. and remember, that, this is something that you wanted to pursue, and don't let anybody knock you off that.
Thank you, Niles. And John, close us up. Anything to add, John?
There you go. Sorry about that. Yeah, no, thank you for having me here. But definitely I want to leave you guys with, everyone has said it perfectly. Working in sports is not one of those industries where you can just walk in and say, hey, you're going to hire me. It's one of those where you have to go, and you have to do that either a bunch of times, or sometimes you do it and then they say, hey, you're not the guy, and you got to try again. But whatever your niche for sports, or whatever industry that you're in, it's the passion. You want to be able to show up at that place of work, that facility, that building, that park, wherever you're at, and you want to enjoy it. If you don't enjoy it, it's not where you want to be. I can say for myself, and probably for every one of the panelists, that they literally show up to work and smile every time they go there. And sometimes it's hard to go home. And there's some times where, yeah, you might want to leave at the end of the day pretty early, but no matter what, that next day always keeps you wanting to come back. And that's what you have to find in any industry that you work in. And for sports, it's pretty much given once you get there and get going into it. It's enjoyable to its fullest.
You're here. Thanks, John. On behalf of the University of California, Riverside, thank you for joining us for our Industry Insights event. It was a pleasure to connect with you all this evening. We appreciate you making time to be a part of this event and hope you've gained valuable insights and grew your alumni network. Everyone will receive a follow-up email containing the recording of this webinar. I'd like to thank all of our panelists for their time, generosity, and commitment to UCR and the Alumni Association. Your contributions this evening make me especially proud to be a part of this amazing Highlander family. I encourage you all to reach out and connect with our panelists on LinkedIn to continue your career conversations. They are all amazing individuals, and I'm fortunate to call them my friends. We hope to see you all in the fall for future virtual programming. Please visit alumni.ucr.edu/career services for further details on upcoming episodes and to view recordings of our past webinars. Thank you all for joining, and enjoy the rest of your evening. Go Highlanders.